Hello, everybody, and welcome in on this Saturday. No, is it Friday or Saturday? See, these days off throw me off. I'm like, what day is this? It's Friday. There it is. It's right there, Chris. It's right. Friday, November 8th. This is 270 weather for the 270 area code and beyond. How y'all doing? I think I solved the clicking, knocking, scattering, cutout noises from the microphone, the audio. I'm thinking that I have them solved. We'll give it a few minutes. And last night, it went about a minute in, and then it started the crackling and static. So what I did today was made a few more changes, rebooted the computer so that it would take, and I did a test run. I did a trial run that lasted for a few minutes, and I just talked and talked and talked, and you guys didn't know it because I made it a private test, and I didn't hear any crackling or static. Everything was nice and clean. And so you guys, again, you just tell me right here in the comments, Facebook and YouTube, um, if you hear anything gnarly going on. So, all right. So, right now, knock on wood, Heart of Gold says it sounds good. I'll hope it stays that way. Here is a different Chris. Everything sounds good. Good. See? Now, maybe I finally have solved the problem. And really, it came down to, and I'll just tell you this real quick before we get into talking about snow. It really came down to something very simple. It was not the microphone. It was not the equipment. It was that I left, stupid me, left a lot of tabs open without rebooting the system and without purging out some old stuff. And so it was just sitting there it was a draw. It was trying to draw all of these tabs and all of this, everything. So it started making the sound spark and crackle and all the noises that it made. So I should have known that I should have closed out all those tabs. But I got to thinking, it's been a little bit since I rebooted my computer. And I've got all these tabs open, and it's got to be, radar and satellite and all these different sources that I'm pulling from. It's got to be a pull on the CPU. And sure enough, I went in and looked, and it was like, whoo, it's over in the red. Got to back it off just a little bit. Okay. So that's what I did. And now you guys are telling me everything sounds good. So that's what I wanted. So thank you for bearing with me over the last few days to try to work out the kinks. But we are live back here tonight. The current time is 6:40 Central Time here on this November 28th, Black Friday. I didn't know exactly when I first came on, is this Friday or Saturday? Because, and here's why, I just came back. My wife and I just came back from our family Thanksgiving. We did not have it on Thursday on Thanksgiving. We had it today. And we had it at my youngest daughter's house, which is in Tennessee. So we're just now getting back, but I want to make sure that everything was up and running the way it should. Even had a little intro there. Did you like that? That was a little different. Okay, let's get to it because there's a lot to talk about, and I want to make sure I get to all of it here tonight. So we'll start with the numbers from today. We had a high here in Bowling Green. I made sure I got this right. 41 here at the Bowling Green Airport. 41, 13 degrees colder than normal. The normal high has now dropped to 54, and it keeps dropping. So we weren't even close to the normal high temperature. The low this morning, though, was 26, and boy, did it feel like it. There was frost everywhere under that mainly clear sky. And as we've gone through the afternoon, you've probably noticed some high, thin cirrus clouds beginning to move in. That's ahead of the system that I'm going to talk about, the first one tomorrow, that's going to have an effect on our weather. No precipitation, of course, for the past 24 hours. Let's move on to the current radar and satellite. And there you see, to the west of us, some of the high clouds that are moving in. Now, these clouds are in advance of the system that is going to move out of the plains. And so what you're seeing here, these are the high clouds that are going to just kind of lift and move from northwest to southeast as we go through overnight tonight. Right now, where the skies are clear, you can see we're at 32 here in Bowling Green, but it's 27 in Glasgow. It's only 30 in Campbellsville. But you see back to the west, temperatures are a few degrees warmer, like Carbondale is at 36. Sikeston, Missouri is at 36. Then you've got, 40s, starting to see West Plains, Missouri, 41. Those clouds kind of act as a blanket. So pretty much since we're at 32 and some of you are in the 20s to the east of us where skies are clear, once the clouds come in, that will act as a blanket and keep your temperatures fairly close to where they are now. We're not going to see a whole lot of a dive in temperature tonight thanks to those clouds. Now, some of you out here to the east say, let's draw a line here at Interstate 65 like that. So all of you east of 65, you're going to stay clear longer because the clouds will not come in until several hours from now. So you're more likely to stay in the 20s for overnight lows, while those of us along and west of Interstate 65 will stay a few degrees warmer than everybody else. And then as the moisture begins to move in, yes, there will be moisture that moves in tomorrow. It will, as a warm front makes its way through the area, this warm frontal boundary, which is coming in from the south, is going to lift northward. I'll show you this on the maps here in just a moment. But as that lift of warm air begins to move in with the moisture, and we've got a low pressure system, a little piece of energy that's going to move in from the west, yes, we will start to get moisture tomorrow, but now it's looking less likely that we're going to see snow out of this system, at least here in the 270 Southern Kentucky, Bowling Green area and further south. It's looking less likely. And remember what I've said, that it's just really hard. It's really difficult for us in Southern Kentucky in the 270 to get snow. We've got to work, the atmosphere has to really work hard to get us snow here. So the most likely scenario for tomorrow is going to be rain, with maybe some of you say north. Let me get my pen out again. Say, for instance, north of the Bluegrass and then the Western Kentucky parkways. North of this area, this line, you're more likely to get sleet, snow, rain mixed. Maybe these little ice pellets that show up and maybe a few snowflakes. But then once that warm front comes through, it's all going to be rain. You're going to see these temperatures, which are chilly right now, and some of them, much of them below freezing. You're going to watch those temperatures in the morning start to rise. And as that warmer air comes in and the temperatures start to rise, it's not going to stay frozen precipitation. It's going to go rain, all of it, for everybody, until you go way far to the north of the Ohio River. And then there it would stay in the form of snow or go to snow. Okay. Just wanted you to know that. Let's take a quick look at Litchfield, the HazCam up there. Live look here at 6:47 p.m. from the Grayson County Emergency Management Office, giving us this live look where it's 32 degrees and the skies are mainly clear. But overnight tonight, in the next few hours, there in Litchfield and Grayson County, you'll begin to see clouds, high clouds moving in. So that's going to be the case. Here's over in far western Kentucky. See, right there. These are high clouds that I showed you on the satellite view a moment ago that are moving in with the system that is going to move through tomorrow. So these kind of high clouds are going to move in everywhere overnight tonight. I do want to show you something else while I'm here on the radar, and that is interesting to note here with the system coming in tomorrow. There is a general thunderstorm category that's out. Yeah, look at this. Look how far east it goes to Bowling Green. You say, wait a minute, look at these temperatures, 30s. What are you talking about? Thunderstorms. Okay, this is not a severe weather risk. It is what we call the general risk. General, not lieutenant, not corporal, not sergeant, general. It is a general risk, and it just simply means that somebody west of Bowling Green with that warm front lifting to the north, lifting that moist air, there might be a rumble of thunder. We cannot completely rule that out, although I think most of us will not get that. I think they just kind of painted it in, but there's no risk of any kind of severe weather, not even close for tomorrow. But I thought it was kind of interesting that they put that here for tomorrow. Now, let's look at winter weather impact. There is such a thing. Let me go back to day one. Let me go down to the winter weather impact. And here it is for late tonight and early tomorrow. Now, anything in this, what may look to you as gray or a light blue or even white on your screen, which just kind of hugs the Ohio River, doesn't come any further south, that is a winter weather area. In other words, some of these locations, maybe not all of them, Cincinnati to maybe Louisville to Evansville to Owensboro to Paducah, hugging the river again, Ohio River, might see some kind of brief period of winter type precipitation tonight, and then here it is tomorrow. Notice it doesn't change much, and here's why. The clouds are already moving in. The timing of the warm front that I just described to you is moving in already. And when the moisture meets up with these colder temperatures, most of the temperatures are going to have warmed up enough to keep us out of any kind of frozen precipitation, at least here in much of the 270, the 615, the 502, the 606, pretty much the entire area until you go north of the Ohio River. And then somebody, like I said, north of the Bluegrass or the Western Kentucky Parkways tomorrow, as the precipitation starts, you may see it start as rain mixed with sleet, or these little ice pellets we call grapple, or a snowflake. But any kind of frozen precipitation, it's just going to be brief. Then all of it changes to rain. All right. I just wanted to make sure you understood that. With this system coming in, it is all primarily going to be rain, but there will be that few minutes tomorrow, midday, early afternoon, when it starts. You may go, look, I see a snowflake. Ooh, looks like sleet. Or you could hear the sleet hitting the leaves on the ground for just a brief period, and then it all goes to rain. It is all going to go to rain tomorrow. So that's some great news. Maybe not for you that want snow, but that's the news for tomorrow. Now, I will tell you this. Things are looking a little more, shall we say, interesting for the next system that's coming in Monday into Tuesday, which I'm going to highlight here in just a moment. But first, let's set it up for you. So here's the Kentucky Mesonet and all the really chilly temperatures that we're dealing with right now. Most everybody, as you saw on the radar scan, with the temperatures turned on, we've got 20s and 30s. How warm did it get today? Well, let's see here. Why is this not, for some reason? Oh, there we go. I just had to move the map a little. So here's a look at the temperatures of the highs that we had today. And look, a lot of us didn't even hit 40. I mean, officially here at the airport, as I showed you, it hit 41. But really, most of us stayed in the upper 30s, like 38, 39, 37, maybe a 40 here and there, the high temperature today. And then the low temperatures were this morning when we hit 20s, and I mean low 20s. Well, there's an 18 in Burkesville for the low temperature this morning. Ugh. Now, it's not going to get that cold tonight. It'll get close, but I think we're pretty much where we're going to be for the rest of tonight, as an east, then southeast wind begins to click in ahead of the warm front. And when that warm front comes in with the moisture, that's why temperatures are going to be right there where it's going to help the precipitation type either be a little frozen stuff mixed in, or it's just going to be all rain by the time all of that really starts to move in. Of course, we've had no precipitation today. It's been a fine day, very nice. Winds right now at 655 are pretty much light and variable, but they'll become more easterly as we get into the overnight hours. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to the surface map. And of course, like I've been doing lately, I do a contrast and compare. We can't just look at one map and go, okay, that's the way it is. No, we're going to do a contrast and compare, hour by hour. Here is right now high pressure sitting over the Wabash River Valley. Here comes our moisture and the warm front that's going to move through tonight. Here we are at midnight. The high pressure center moves east. Here comes the warm front and the lifted moisture. Now notice, places like St. Louis, Jeff City, maybe on up into, say, Des Moines, Iowa. Look at all this mess. A lot of this is light snow over to heavy snow, and then a mix around that low pressure system, which is going to first draw in warmer air. So even some places way north and west of us won't see snow. They'll see a mix. Well, as that low begins to move our direction tomorrow morning, that's also going to play a role in what kind of precipitation type we get. So here's midnight. Here is 6 a.m. tomorrow. And notice the warm front, we're still fairly dry. Clouds will cover the area. Now, there may be in Evansville or, say, far southeastern Illinois, again, the Wabash River down to the Ohio River, maybe over toward Cape Girardeau or Sikeston, Missouri. There could be a combination of precipitation. Cold enough, yes, in the thermals of the atmosphere close to the ground, depending on how deep or shallow the cold air layer is, there will be, I just do believe, even here in Bowling Green, there's going to be that brief period for a few minutes where you're likely to see some snowflakes mixing with sleet and mixing with rain. Then as the warm front continues to go north, it all becomes, this is 12 noon, this is when we'll begin to see that little bit of a mix. Then it's going to go over to all rain. And there it is. This is 24 hours from now, 6 p.m. tomorrow night, Saturday night. All rain. And that's where, when that warm front makes its way through, parts of western Kentucky could even hear a rumble of thunder, which is why the Storm Prediction Center put in that general garden variety risk of a thunderstorm. But honestly, I don't think it's going to do that here. Now, let's move on. This is 6 p.m. tomorrow night. We go 6 a.m. Sunday as the cold front then begins to pull through the southern Kentucky area and middle Tennessee, starting to draw in a little bit of colder air. Maybe some places like E-Town, Radcliffe, Louisville, Danville, Frankfort, on up into Bloomington, Indiana, Seymour. There could be that little mix on the backside, but this is going to be a fast-moving system, so I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of time. There's certainly not going to be any impact, zero impact on roads. So those of you that are here for Thanksgiving and you're heading back tomorrow, you're good. You're good to go. You may see something on your windshield that's like, oh, that looks like a little piece of ice, or that looks like a snowflake mixing with the rain. But that's going to be it. It's not going to be any more than that. And it's certainly not going to freeze on the roads or even in the grass. It's still too warm, okay? But what this cold front is going to do or help in doing is establishing enough cold air to be with us as the next system comes around, and that's the one that is of bigger interest than the one that's coming through tomorrow. Now, this just reset. Let me go back. Here's Sunday morning. Here's Sunday afternoon and evening. Skies will begin to clear. Here we go into Monday, the first day of December, and everything's looking good here at the beginning of the day, but look what's coming. Let me zoom out a bit here and show you the big setup. High pressure. This is going to establish, like the front that came through, It's going to keep us in the cold air. Monday, we're only going to make it up to maybe 40, 41, 42 at the warmest, and then fall back to around 30 or even the upper 20s Monday night into Tuesday. Well, that's a critical point right there, because the moisture is going to be able to come in where and change over to some snow where the coldest air pools up or is shallow, or actually deeper. And so, as you can see, even here they've got it. Well, it's snow. That's an easy thing to pick out there. But then, say south of Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Little Rock, it may be a big mix area. Then over to all rain. Let's go a step further and go 6 a.m. Tuesday. Well, again, we're in that window that's not in the short-term window yet. So that, we're looking at a lot of long-range data that's just about to come into the short-term window, but we're not quite there yet. We got to let this cook a little bit more tonight, and then by tomorrow morning, we will get a more detailed fix on just exactly who's going to get what. But this is Tuesday morning, and notice they've got much of our area, in fact, all of it, pretty much all of it, in a mix, not snow. But this doesn't show you what's going to happen between 6 o'clock Monday morning and 6 a.m. Tuesday morning. I do think there will be that time, depending on temperature profile, temperature at the surface, and temperatures just above us. If the temperature profiles are cold enough and deep enough, then it could be all snow. But again, the caveat, the little what ifs and wherefores would tell me that most of the time when we're sitting on the fence like this, it's going to be hard for us in the Bowling Green, Southern Kentucky 270 area to get a big measurable snow. It may be more of a slushy type scenario that we wake up to on Tuesday morning, instead of something that is covering the ground and closing roads and schools and all that kind of stuff. And see here, by Wednesday, it's gone. High pressure builds back in. We go into Thursday. Here comes another front meeting up with more Gulf moisture. And this time it'll all be rain, because temperatures will be more into the 40s and more of a southerly flow, which means warmer air should keep everything in the form of rain. All right. Now, I said all that because I want you to understand, like I posted earlier today, I want you to understand there are so many, dozens and I would even say hundreds of maps that are floating around out there with very little, if any, context as to, they'll put up, somebody will put up a map and they'll say, this is the so-and-so model. Then they'll put up another one that says, this is the other model. And then here's another. But what are you, they don't understand that you don't understand computer forecast models. They just throw them out there and say, well, this one says this and that one says that, and you're just supposed to take their word for it. Well, I want to take the time, and that's why it takes me 30 minutes or more to often explain the weather. That's what this podcast is for, to explain things and to explain to you and to hopefully get you to understand that while it's all exciting to think about snow and the kids get excited and even big kids get excited, right? Am I right? Yeah. Most of you have already commented you don't want to see snow, you just don't want it, blah blah blah. Well, look, it's very difficult for us to get snow here because usually, and here's the big because and the big deal, usually for us, it's because Kentucky, is right due north of the Gulf. That's a moisture source, and it's usually always warm. And so, because of our position in the United States and where Kentucky is located in proximity to the Gulf and the warm waters, it's just difficult for us to get these big snows. They happen, but they happen very rarely. Now, I know some of you argued with me on my post earlier, and you said, I remember as a kid, we got snow all the time. No, that's just what you remembered. But I can go back and look at records, and I can go back and see, we had some snows, yes, but not as many as you think. And some of the big ones happened when we were trending much colder in a different pattern than the one that we're maybe been in for the last few years. And that's why we haven't seen as much snow. The whole global warming, climate change, and all that but we're talking climate versus weather. Weather is every day, climate is long term. You can't force those two things together and go, oh, it's because of global warming. That's I said in my post that it's bunk. It is bunk to think that those two things have got to go together, and that's why things are happening the way they happen. That's not true. So don't fall for all that. A lot of it is just hype. But let me show you this. This is a GFS model. Okay, this is the one that eventually the GFS model is going to be phased out. It's going away. Now, this is showing tomorrow, as we get into the day, this period of snow and then over to rain. You can see that, but look where the coldest air is going to be. That's what this line is right here. The coldest air is going to be wrapped around the low north of us. That's why, again, we're right here on the fence between the coldest air and the warmest air. And sometimes these models have a hard time parsing out who's going to get frozen precipitation and who's going to get just wet rain or a chilly rain. And again, where we sit in the state of Kentucky, we're always on the fence. I would say 97, 98% of the time, we are going to be on the fence. It's hardly ever a clear-cut determination that we're going to get snow, unless it is something that, and I can tell you this, sometimes we'll get something that tracks way, way down to the south. Like it could be a southern tracking system with a low pressure system way down to the south, and it digs deep and it draws in all that cold air back behind it, and then it starts to track up Appalachia like that. Then you're looking at something that pretty much could produce a snow for us, where it looks like, oh wow, this is looking snowy. But this is not. This is not for tomorrow. That's not looking very snowy. So let me go to now the more reliable. It says ECMWF. We call it the European model. You think, well, why are we using a European model, a model that's European and not American? Well, because actually this is a more reliable model. So when some people throw up some of these models that they say, hey, look at this, and they're doing all this stuff, and sometimes it's the GFS, which is being phased out. It's going away because it's not as reliable as this. So now we're looking at tomorrow, and look what's happening here. I can even back it up just a little bit here. Notice the track of the low right through Missouri. The coldest air is still north of us, but we're on that fence. You see the little blue mixing in with the green. What that means is we're more likely to get a mix. Freezing, maybe not freezing rain, because that would then freeze on contact. It's not going to be that cold. But sleet mixing with snowflakes and mixing with rain, then going to all rain, is the most likely scenario for tomorrow. So no impact on roads. And there you see everything goes to rain by tomorrow evening. And then that system is quickly out of here. Now we're going to get about a day on Sunday where nothing's happening, except notice here that that blue line, that 540 height, or where the coldest air, the freezing line is now on the Kentucky-Tennessee border. That's key because that could help establish a layer, a thicker layer of cold air over Kentucky. So if any moisture comes in, it maybe could produce some snow. Well, let's look. Here we go. Monday afternoon. Notice the line. It does go north a little bit more, but notice this low and notice where the line is going to be. So let's watch it here. Monday afternoon, Monday evening. Now this model, this European model, delays the onset of the rain or the moisture a little bit later. So here we go into early Tuesday morning. Now notice what's happening. We get a much deeper trough here, and then we start to see what could be this period of snow. It could be rain, say east, southeast of I-65, but then snow on the west, northwest side of 65 and along the Ohio River very early Tuesday morning. And again, the timing is may need some adjusting. But here we go with where this is going to go next Tuesday. Here we go into Tuesday morning. Look at this. Now, this is critical because look at where the 540, the freezing line is, and look where the snow is versus the rain. So this is why we're looking at this as if there's something that's going to happen that's going to be maybe a minor snow event for us, tomorrow's not going to be it. It would be Tuesday or maybe even Monday night, depending on the timing. But again, we've got to get more detailed modeling coming in the next 12 to 24 hours. It gives us a better handle on how this is going to play out. But if you're looking for snow, the chances of it happening are better Monday night into Tuesday, but even it's going to move out pretty quickly. It's not going to linger. Therefore, we're not looking at high accumulation amounts. Somebody could get an inch or two somewhere around if it all comes together as we're seeing here. But that's still a big if. Now let's go into later next week. And I alluded to this last night, but I was having so many audio problems that I didn't get to talk about it much. It's this coming weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend, the 5th into the 6th, which is Saturday. And Saturday is the big Christmas parade day. And look at this. Here is another trough, and what looks like is going to become a closed off low pressure system that looks, if it stays on this path, would be moving right over southern Kentucky and again be the divider between snow to the north and rain to the south. So it looks like as we get ready for Bowling Green, Glasgow, Munfordville, Morgantown, Cave City, all the Horse Cave, Munfordville, Litchfield parades, not tomorrow, but next Saturday, the 6th, we could be looking at an interesting weather day with a little combination of rain and or snow. Look at that trough. It digs pretty deep. And then here we go into look at this next Sunday into Monday. I mean, there's one system after another. This pattern is different than what we've seen in the last couple of winters, in that the jet stream is set up in a way to where it's going to be, I said this weeks ago, even months ago, that this winter is going to be more active than previous winters. Colder, wetter, and maybe for some of us, a little snowier. So that's what we need to look to. Not the system tomorrow, but the one that's coming in for Monday night into Tuesday. That is the system to watch. How about temperatures? Well, let's look at the blender, the blend of models, taking into account not just the European, not just the GFS, but the NAM, North American model, HRRR. You've got a lot of other subsets, dozens of them. And they just throw them all in a blender, spin it around, and this is the output. So you can see that certainly the temperatures are going to be warm enough pretty much every day for the next 10 days that it should keep most of the rain or most of the precipitation in the form of rain. But again, how cold is it going to be just above where we are? And what are the surface temperatures going to be? Because that plays a big role into what kind of precipitation type that we're going to end up with. So you look just by the numbers and you think, well, okay, it's going to be a cold rain when it does rain. But at night, every one of these numbers, every one of these numbers is at freezing or well below freezing. So at night, if there's moisture, we're more likely to have frozen precipitation, and it may not always be snow. It could be rain mixed with snow or sleet. So this is why I caution you to not get so caught up in all the pretty graphics that are being thrown out there. We still have some finite details of modeling that we're waiting to have come in. Tomorrow, yes, we will know a lot better how this is going to play, but I can tell you tomorrow is not going to be anything to worry about at all. So if you're visiting and you're trying to go back home from Thanksgiving, you're going to be fine tomorrow. Wet roads is about it. Nothing else. You may see a snowflake or a little pellet of ice, but then that's it. But now I want you to think about this. If you get into a situation which I just showed you, how the pattern this winter is going to be different from anything that we've seen recently in recent years, you need to be thinking about how you're going to keep your heat on. You're going to keep the lights on. You're going to keep being on your devices, watching TV, cooking, refrigeration, all of that. And really the only, well, let's just say the best way to have that keep running is to get a generator. And the number one name in generators is Generac, and R&R Controls, our sponsor, is the number one name in generators, and R&R Controls knows Generac. Sales, service, installation, and preventative maintenance. Preventative maintenance is key. So why not call them? Now that Thanksgiving is over, everybody's back to work. They're making plans now to go out and service a lot of homes and a lot of businesses that have Generac generators to make sure that they're going to be working for those times when the power is going to go off because of maybe snow, but more likely ice. It's possible that that could happen this season, or even severe weather. This pattern is very likely to cause any of that to happen at some point. So you want to be ready. So call R&R Controls. You can go to rnrhvac.com or rnrcontrols.com. Better yet, call that number that's at the top of this graphic, 270-777-2024. 270-777-2024. Because with R&R Controls, you will never be without power when the power goes off. And if you have trouble with your HVAC or you just need some maintenance done, those are the folks to call because they know all about it. And they know how to take care of you. They've done it for 40 plus years. Well, it appears, Sally, you sound good. Yeah, you guys are telling me that everything sounds good tonight, which I'm just so thankful. I have been just, I'll admit that I did to my wife, Miss Sheila, today when we were going into Tennessee to visit my family for Thanksgiving. That I was just, the last 2 nights I've just been, you don't know, but I'll tell you now because I feel better now that everything's working. I have just been totally embarrassed. I've been hanging my head like I'm embarrassed that here I am, an audio guy, a TV guy, a radio guy, and now a social media guy, and my audio sucks the last 2 nights on this podcast. It's just embarrassing because I expect better and I know better. And for it to be something as simple as, dude, you just need to reboot your computer and get rid of all these open tabs you got at the top. Duh. I feel like McFly, in Back to the Future. Hello, McFly. You know? And I'm like, Chris, come on, man. You know better. Just do it. And so I finally shut everything down and closed out all the tabs and rebooted. And now everything is running as smooth as silk. Duh. Oh my God. See, sometimes, listen, you guys just don't know. Sometimes I just beat myself up because I didn't think of the most simple thing that you can do to, you know, rectify any kind of problem. But you live and learn, and you guys have been just so patient and so understanding, um, to help me get it fixed. But it was a little embarrassing, just a little embarrassing, as Popeye used to say. But I ate my spinach and I powered through. So, you guys, don't worry about whatever frozen precipitation you see tomorrow. You're good to go. It's going to be just fine. It's going to be no big deal. Monday night into Tuesday, eh, we're going to have to wait on that one to see how that's going to play out. That's the bottom line. Monday night into Tuesday could be something that we need to pay attention to. And of course, I'll be here and I'll be on your TV to figure it all out for you. In the meantime, God bless you and thank you so much. I love you guys. I really do. You're so supportive and you understand. And I'm just thankful. In this time, the season of giving thanks and gratitude, that's to you. I'll see you later.